everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a review on the Too Faced Italian Spritz Eyeshadow Palette. If you do want to see a review and a demo, then please keep watching. As a huge favor, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and comment anything down below. I greatly appreciate it. I read all the comments and I'll do my best to reply back. This palette retails for $54 on Too Faced's website and Ulta Beauty. I do want to read a little bit about this palette on Ulta's website. Too Faced's 18 shade Italian Spritz eyeshadow palette is full of fresh matte, metallic, shimmer, and special effect finishes. Smells like a summer spritz. Here's a closer look on what the packaging looks like. It says Too Faced Italian Spritz. Underneath that it says Lake Como cocktail inspired eyeshadow palette. I like the packaging, it's cute. Up at the top it says Too Faced. On this side of the packaging there's nothing printed. On the other side you have the list of ingredients. Down at the bottom you have the list of ingredients printed as well. And then on the back it says Too Faced Italian Spritz. Again, it says smells like a summer spritz. Underneath that you have a little description. Across that you have all the colors in the eyeshadow palette plus the shade names. Underneath that it states it was made in Italy. Here's what the actual eyeshadow palette looks like. It comes in their tin packaging. Here's what the back looks like. Similar to the outer box. Let's open this. Here's what all 18 shadows look like, and it comes with a mirror. The first shade in the palette is called Holy Cannoli. Wow, this is very super soft and buttery in the pan. Here's what that shadow looks like. Holy Cannoli is described as a light salmon pink matte. You can barely see that shadow. It kind of disappeared on the back of my hand. The second shade is called Ciao Bellini. Ciao Bellini is described as a soft peachy orange gold shimmer metallic. That shade is pretty. I love that shade. The third shade is called When in Rome. When in Rome is described as a watermelon pink matte. This shade is pigmented. The next shade is called Take Me to Church. Take Me to Church is described as a soft rose gold metallic. I'm loving the metallic so far. The second to last shade in the top row is called Feeling Saucy. Feeling Saucy is described as a terracotta matte. These mattes are pigmented. The last shade in the top row is called Lake Como. That's a beautiful blue shimmer. Lake Como is described as a sky blue and silver shimmer. I don't like how that shimmer blended out, but we'll see what it looks like applied on the lid. The first shade in the second row is called Toasted in Tuscany. Toasted in Tuscany is described as a soft brown matte. Again, you can barely see that shade swatched on the back of my hand. I'm gonna see if it's buildable. I guess this shade isn't buildable because you can barely see it. Next up, we have the shade in Sin Sin. Sin Sin is described as a warm bronze metallic. Again, very pigmented. The next shade is called Spritz and Glitz. Spritz and Glitz is described as a purple, pink, and blue shimmer. This shade is gorgeous. I had to zoom in. Hopefully you guys can see the little pearlescent reflect. It's gorgeous. The next shade is called Spaghetti About It. Spaghetti About It is described as a burnt orange brown matte. This would be a beautiful transition shade. The second to last shade in the second row is called Grappa Don't Preach. Grappa Don't Preach is described as a vibrant gold metallic. The metallics are where it's at in this palette. The last shade in the second row is called Espresso Yourself. Espresso Yourself is described as a cool red-brown matte. Again, very pigmented. The first shade in the bottom row is called Lake and Bake. Lake and Bake is described as a midnight blue metallic. That blue is gorgeous. The next shade is called Capri Fun. Capri Fun is described as a muted pumpkin rust matte. That shade is so pretty. Next up, we have the shade in Mamma Mia. Mamma Mia is described as a purple wine matte. I expected this shade to have a little bit more pigmentation. It seems a little bit patchy. Next up, we have the shade in Como After Dark. Como After Dark is described as a smoky gunmetal with pearl swirl effect metallic. Now that's a description. I'm not sure if my camera will pick up the little pearls in this shade. It's really beautiful. The second to last shade is called Impostable. Impostable is described as a medium light yellow brown matte. Again, that shade disappeared. I'm gonna build it up. You can barely see it. The last shade in the palette is called Gelato. Gelato is described as a warm cream matte. Here's what all 18 shadows look like swatched on the back of my hand. Now we're going to create a look using this palette. Taking a fluffy crease brush, I'm going to dip into the shadow in Toasted in Tuscany. I'm getting a tiny bit of fallout in the pan. Applying this in my crease, going back and forth, doing windshield wiper motions. Surprisingly, that shade showed up on my eyelid. After swatching it on the back of my hand, I didn't have any hope, and I didn't have to dip back in for more product. It's a beautiful transition shade. Using my finger, I'm going to dip into the shadow in Lake and Bake, pack this in the center of my lid. Wow, that's pigmented. Taking a clean flat brush, I'm going to dip into the shade in Spritz and Glitz. This shade has minimal fallout. Pack this in my inner corner. That's beautiful. I'm going to blend those two shadows together up at the top. That way there's no harsh line. Taking that same flat brush, I'm going to flip it over and dip into the shade in Como After Dark. There's a tiny bit of fallout in this metallic shadow. Pack this in my outer corner. That shade is really pretty. I'm gonna leave this eye look as is. On the other side, I wanna play with more colors. Taking a clean fluffy brush, I'm gonna dip into the shade in Impostable. This shade has a little bit of kick up in the pan. Again, applying this in my crease, going back and forth, doing windshield wiper motions. Again, I wasn't expecting this shade to show up on my eyelid. After swatching it on the back of my hand, I was expecting it to disappear. But it's really beautiful. Again, very pigmented. A little bit of product goes a long way. Using that same brush, I'm gonna dip into the shadow and Espresso Yourself. Again, we have some fallout. Applying this in my outer V, doing circular motions. I love how that blended out. Using that same brush, I'm gonna dip into the shade in Mamma Mia. Mamma Mia also has a tiny bit of fallout as well. Apply this shade in the inner portion of my eye. Again, going back and forth, doing windshield wiper motions. That turned smoky rather quickly. Again, very pigmented. I was expecting it to be a little bit patchy, but I didn't have any issues blending. Using my finger, I'm gonna dip into the shadow in Lake Como. Pack this in the center of my lid. Again, after swatching it on the back of my hand, I wasn't expecting it to be that pigmented on my lid, and I didn't have to dip back in for more product. Taking a pointed pencil brush, I'm going to dip into the shade in Ciao Bellini, apply this to my inner corner. I love that light pop in the inner corner. Taking a clean pointed pencil brush, I'm going to dip into the shade in Take Me to Church, apply it to this side of my eye. I prefer this color in my inner corner versus the other shade. Again, it's very pretty. I want to apply more color to my eyes, but I don't have enough lid space. I will be playing with this palette a bit more and leave my final thoughts in the description box down below. I'm going to leave the eyeshadow look as is. Here's how it turned out. For mascara, I'm going to apply the Too Faced Better Than Sex mascara. For lips, I'm going to apply the NYX Fat Oil Lip Drip in the shade Supermodel. Here's what everything looks like. My final thoughts on this eyeshadow palette is that I really do like it. I love the color story. I like how pigmented the formula is. I especially love the metallic shadows in this palette. Very pigmented. A little bit of product goes a long way. I love how easily the matte shadows blended out. I personally love the metallic shades, but the shimmer shades are nice as well. Again, I was super surprised by this blue shadow. I love this blue metallic. It states that it smells like a summer spritz. I have no idea what a summer spritz smells like, so let's see. I'm getting a citrus fruity scent. You really have to press your nose against the palette to smell it. I couldn't smell it while I was swatching it on the back of my hand. It is very faint, but it's a nice touch. Again, I will be playing with this eyeshadow palette a bit more, and I will leave below in the description box my final thoughts. $54 is a fair price for this eyeshadow palette. I personally would wait until this goes on sale. Let me know in the comments down below if you plan on purchasing this palette. If you guys did enjoy this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe. I will see you guys in my next video.